Content warning for Islamophobia. Somehow. That being said, during the section that does have said Islamophobia, I will be providing a timestamp to skip over. Also, the Writers and Actors Guilds are on strike, so a great time to release my first video on a movie. Playing the pivotal role in the plot of the 2019 film Godzilla, King of the Monsters is the organization Monarch, whose job is to monitor Kaiju worldwide so they don't try anything apocalyptic. In one scene at some point in the film, we get to see 3 maps showing the location of various Kaiju, 11 of whom, aside from the rare X-ray, aren't seen anywhere else in the film. 2 of them got expanded upon in the graphic novel Godzilla Dominion, but that leaves 9 of them that are left as a name, location, and bones. It's like I was gonna do this thing where I sing a short snippet of a song that relates. Abaddon is Hebrew for destruction, but in context the Titan's name is clearly referring to the figure from Revelation. Yes, I'm quoting the Bible in a video about Godzilla, a king, the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek Apollyon, in Latin Extremis. As for the Titan's surrounding details, it lives somewhere near Devil's Tower, a place held sacred by several Native American tribes. I do like the concept of sacred sites being the host to these otherworldly beasts in concept, but I admit that if you're gonna do it, you should probably be doing it to a whole host of sacred sites. And this is where the movie's use of this trope fails for me. It only uses sacred sites that are sacred to either native peoples or Cambodians. Because when you do portray a culture's beliefs as just some skewed viewing of a monster, it's going to end up cheapening that culture's beliefs. So it's better to do this to all sorts of nations, including your own, instead of just doing a bunch of nations that are not your own. And for the most part, the film is good with this. Of the film's 15 original monsters, 3 of them have distinctly Judeo-Christian names, and one of them has a name that's from the New Testament, but is still arguably Judeo-Christian because Hebrew name and all. It's a shame that when it comes to the equity in these areas, the film is lacking. Back on track, the only other information we have on Abaddon comes in the form of this monitor, which is very low quality. I can't make out anything aside from the skeleton, and the skeleton isn't really something I can comprehend, so I guess we're getting no information from it. Right, 5 seconds fade. Songs that vaguely relate to the kaiju that I would sing between breaths. Just a reminder, this is the tie-in that I put the content warning for Islamophobia in for, so if you are Islamic or have any other kind of bad feelings towards Islamophobia, you can feel free with skipping this one. Baphomet is a name of interesting origins, with a variant of it first appearing in texts from the Crusades as an epithet for the Prophet Muhammad. Later on, King Philip IV decided he wanted to get rid of these guys called the Knights Templar, and did so by getting a bunch of unreliable tortured confessions out of them. These tortured confessions ended up referencing Baphomet as a religious boogeyman who they worshipped. Now that I have successfully ruined the name Baphomet for you, we can talk about its role in the film. Baphomet is located at a site in Morocco called Volubilis, which is just some ruins or something. There's also the X-ray, which is probably the most terrifying of any of the X-rays we see in the film, and it's a shame that it's tied to one of the most questionable names in the film. Solid rock standing on sacred ground, living on. Bunyip is the name of man-eating water spirits from southeastern Aboriginal Australian mythology. Sometimes specifically a weird seal thing, and sometimes anything demonic in Australia. The Monarch Outpost is located at Uluru, but the film calls it by the colonialist name Ayers Rock. However, I'm cool and epic and respect the traditional custodians of the land, so I'm gonna keep calling it Uluru. Uluru is a bit of a weird choice to place Bunyip, considering the Bunyip is traditionally a water spirit and Uluru is in the desert. Okay, that probably just means we're going with the anything demonic interpretation, which creates the very funny visual of one of the Monarch guys asking a tribal elder what the name of the giant beast under Uluru is called, and the tribal elder simply responding with his tribe's word for demon. The X-ray of Bunyip shows a weird eel thing, which a bit weird that they're doubling down on the war spirit interpretation when Uluru is, again, in the desert. Songs that relate to the kaiju in some vague manner to sing in the intermissions between. Moving back to the Bible, Leviathan is the name of a sea monster mentioned in the Book of Job, being a counterpart to Behemoth. At this point, I think it's more than clear that the kaiju aren't meant to, in-universe, be the myths they're named after. Unless you choose to live in a world where the 12 tribes of Israel crossed the Atlantic millennia before there was even a twinkle in Leif Erikson's eye, that is. Not that Leviathan is located in the Americas, mind you. That honor belongs to Behemoth, who unfortunately has a modicum of screen time and whom we will not be discussing in this video. No, Leviathan is located in Loch Ness, Scotland. Yes, that Loch Ness. The X-ray directly contradicts the implied Loch Ness monster of it all, because it is far more squid-like than anything plesiosaurical. So, in the novelization of King of the Monsters, there is an unnamed squid monster in the middle of the Indian Ocean. This is relevant because on one of the screens below the X-rays on each of the X-ray monitors, it shows the map of the monster's location. Apart from Baphomet and, importantly, Leviathan. And what location does the monitor place Leviathan in? That's right, the Indian Ocean. So, two possibilities. This Indian Ocean monster merged with a monster in Loch Ness and they became the Leviathan in the film. The old Indian Ocean monster still getting into the book. 2. Leviathan just got moved up. Clearly, we all know what it's more like. Between segments of the video where I talk about each of the individual types. Well, Mbembe is the name of a cryptid said to have lived in the Congo by lions, specifically being a sauropod unique in how it is alive and not dead by a good 65 million years. The movie places it in Sudan, despite it being one of the few monsters without an X-ray. Thankfully, they get expanded upon in the film's novelization, being described as a weird elephant with a cool horn and creepy mouth. Literally, they're not really trying to flirt with you. Unfortunately, due to an overall lack of information about this kaiju, it wasn't. Quetzalcoatl is the name of one of the only Aztec gods you recognize, so I don't have to explain that. Film places them in Machu Picchu, Peru. Fun fact, the Aztecs were in Mexico. Mexico, where the Aztecs live, and Peru are on two completely different continents. I guess because the USA and Canada are big enough and culturally similar enough to act as their own different North America. But come on, you built the Panama Canal. You're the people who North and South the Americas. Wasn't able to ground up a song that seems vaguely relevant. Sekhmet is the name of an Egyptian goddess who did a little bit of killing the people who didn't like her. The monsterverse depiction reflects this by actually being put in Egypt. I thought they forgot how to properly face these guys. Speaking of things you'd think they'd forget how to do based on the last two, X-rays. Sekhmet has one and it makes them look like a centipede. But that is not all, as we actually have a director's statement as to what Sekhmet looks like. The director said that Sekhmet looks like a sphinx or a lioness, neither of which are centipedes. My interpretation of events is that the film director made some list of minor titans and put Sekhmet on the list with the idea of them being a sphinx-like creature. When the person on the set design team did the X-ray for Sekhmet, they didn't follow through with this idea that was just in their head, and made them the centipede thing, relevant to each of the kaiju, because a lot of the information we have on the kaiju is very bad. Typhon is the name of a big bad in Greek mythology whose exploits involve briefly dethroning Zeus, splitting the gods into becoming the Egyptian gods, and having just enough evil kids to be known as the father of monsters. Elamanica probably has no lore significance to the monsterverse, but you can never be certain. So with the origin of the name, you'd think they'd put Typhon somewhere in Greece, maybe Italy, because they basically copied the Greek legend. Typhon is located in Cambodia, on a completely different continent. Jesus Christ. As for the Titan's X-ray, I literally have no idea what it's meant to be. It looks vaguely pre-Cambrian, so there's a slim chance that the OG Typhon's moniker of Father of Monsters is accurate and it's part of a species that was a progenitor for all the other Titan species we see in the film. It's worth knowing that Typhon isn't just called Typhon. The only two times its name pops up in the film is as part of the title, Titanus Typhon, something that applies to all of the other original Titans, thus implying that the names for all of these Titans are given for their species and not just the individual specimens. But who knows, maybe I'm thinking too hard about the greatest monster on the Acre Wall, bare bones. And that's all I have to say on the matter. The Yamaha no Orochi is the name of a monster from Shintoism that's essentially a Hydra but with a few more heads. In the film, the Kaiju was located on the Mount Fuji because where else would you put the one Kaiju in Japan? In Tokyo, as a reference to the earlier Godzilla films that had Godzilla showing up in Tokyo. Fun fact, Yamaha no Orochi has actually been referenced before in the Godzilla film. That being Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monster Dollar Attack, with them being the King Ghidorah in Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monster Dollar Attack. I can't really think of any song that's generally relevant to this whole kaiju thing, so but it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I miss the bright side.